Have you ever felt invisible? It's like you're speaking a language no one else understands. You form the words, you share an idea, a feeling, a piece of your soul, and it just hangs in the air. A ghost of a thought, unseen, unheard. You watch as others connect with effortless grace. They laugh, they persuade, they build bridges with their words. And you're left on the shore wondering, what is the secret? What is that invisible current they're tapped into? We've all been there. In a tense meeting where our best ideas are shot down before they can take flight, in a painful argument with someone we love, where every word only builds the wall between us higher, in the quiet loneliness of a party where we long for connection but are paralyzed by the fear of saying the wrong thing. We carry this ache within us, this deep human yearning to be understood, to be valued, to matter to the people around us. We think it's a matter of luck or charisma or some innate gift we simply weren't given. Tell ourselves that's just not who I am. But what if I told you it's not a gift? What if it's a skill? What if connection isn't magic but a choice? A series of small, gentle, powerful choices that can transform every interaction you have. Every relationship you build, every room you walk into. What if you could learn the language of the human heart? There is a map, a quiet guide that has been waiting for us, passed down through generations. It's not a book of tricks or manipulations. It's a book about human nature itself. It was written nearly a century ago by a man named Dale Carnegie, and it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, I know what you might be thinking. The title sounds calculating, like a tool for salesmen or politicians. But I am telling you, from a place of deep experience, that is the greatest misunderstanding of its power. I first came to this book not in a boardroom, but in a moment of quiet desperation. A time when I felt my own words were failing me, when the people I cared about most felt miles away, even when they were in the same room. This book wasn't a business strategy for me. It was a lifeline. It didn't teach me how to pretend. It taught me how to see. It taught me that the deepest craving in the human soul is the desire to be appreciated. That the surest way to build a wall is to criticize, and the fastest way to build a bridge is to understand. It revealed that the most interesting person in the room is often the one who is most interested in others. These aren't tactics. They are truths. It's timeless truths about the invisible architecture of our relationships. And learning them, living them, is like learning to see in color for the first time. The world doesn't change, but your perception of it does, and that changes everything. This journey we're about to take together is not a summary, it's an immersion. We're going to walk through this wisdom chapter by chapter, not as a lesson, but as a story, the story of how we connect, and how we can learn to do it with more grace, more empathy, and more heart. The wisdom in these pages is profound. Here are the steps on our path. Part 1. Fundamental techniques in handling people. 1. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. 2. The big secret of dealing with people. 3. He who can do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. Part 2. 6 ways to make people like you. 4. Do this and you'll be welcome anywhere. 5. A simple way to make a good first impression. 6. If you don't do this, you are headed for trouble. 7. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. 8. How to interest people. 9. How to make people like you instantly. Part 3. How to win people to your way of thinking. 10. You can't win an argument. 11. A sure way of making enemies and how to avoid it. 12. If you're wrong, admit it. 13. A drop of honey. 15. The safety valve in handling complaints. 16. How to get cooperation. 17. A formula that will work wonders for you. 18. What everybody wants. 19. An appeal that everybody likes. 20. The movies do it, TV does it. Why don't you do it? 21. When nothing else works, try this. Part 4. Be a leader. How to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. 22. If you must find fault, this is the way to begin. 23. How to criticize and not be hated for it. 24. Talk about your own mistakes first. 25. No one likes to take orders. 26. Let the other person save face. 27. How to spur people on to success. 28. Give a dog a good name. 29. Make the faults seem easy to correct. 30. Making people glad to do what you want. Let's begin this journey. One chapter at a time. Chapter 1. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. Think about the last time you were criticized. Really criticized. Feel the heat that rose in your chest. The immediate instinctual urge to defend yourself. The wall that went up brick by emotional brick. The words of the other person may have been true, they may have been logical, they may even have been meant to help. But what you felt was not gratitude. It was an attack. And in that moment, you didn't learn. You prepared for battle. This is one of the most fundamental and most forgotten truths of human nature. Criticism is futile because it puts a person on the defensive and usually makes them strive to justify themselves. Criticism is dangerous because it wounds a person's precious pride, hurts their sense of importance, and arouses resentment. History is filled with examples. Even the most notorious criminals, from Al Capone to Two Gun Crowley, did not see themselves as evil. In their own minds, they were justified. They had reasons. When Crowley, a cop killer, was cornered in his apartment, he wrote a letter. Did it say, "I am sorry for the lives I have taken"? No, it said, "Under my coat is a weary heart, but a kind one that would do nobody any harm." If men like that see no fault in themselves, what hope do we have of changing the everyday people we meet by attacking them with criticism? The impulse to condemn is so easy, so natural. We see a mistake, a flaw, a failure to meet our expectations. And the words of judgment leap to our lips. We feel righteous, we feel we are helping. But what are we really doing? We're kicking over the beehive. We may get a momentary sense of satisfaction, of power, but we will not get the honey. We will only get stung. The resentment that criticism breeds can last a lifetime, demoralizing employees, alienating family, and shattering friendships. The wisdom here is not to condone wrongdoing. It is to understand that changing people, truly helping them grow, does not begin with condemnation. It begins with understanding. It's understanding that every person, from the saint to the sinner, is operating from their own perspective, their own logic, their own deep-seated need to feel right. Before you speak words of criticism to your child, your partner, your employee, pause. Remember that you are not dealing with a creature of logic. You are dealing with a creature of emotion, a creature bristling with pride and vanity. Instead of condemning them, try to understand them. Try to figure out why they do what they do. It is infinitely more profitable and interesting than criticism. It breeds sympathy, tolerance, and kindness. To know all is to forgive all. So the next time you are tempted to kick the hive, to unleash that sharp, satisfying sting of criticism, stop, take a breath, choose a different path. A path not of judgment, but of curiosity. This is the first and perhaps most difficult step on the journey of connection. Chapter 2, the big secret of dealing with people. So, if we put away the hammer of criticism, what tool do we pick up instead? If we are not to condemn, what are we to do? The answer is the one great secret of dealing with people. It is the key that unlocks goodwill, loyalty, and cooperation. And it is this. There is one deep, driving, profound desire in every human heart. It is the desire that separates us from the animals. It is the craving to be appreciated. Not to be loved, not to be wealthy, but to be important. To feel that our life has meaning, that we are recognized, that we matter. When left unfed, it can drive people to madness. When it is satisfied, it can inspire them to achieve the impossible. Think about it. Why do we build skyscrapers? Why do we write symphonies? Why do we chase titles and accolades? All of it in some way is an attempt to satisfy this deep longing to be important. And here is the magic. You hold the power to satisfy that hunger in others every single day. And it costs you nothing. The tool you must use is honest and sincere appreciation. I need you to hear those words carefully. Honest and sincere. This is not flattery. Flattery is cheap, insincere, and selfish. It is telling the other person precisely what he thinks about himself. Flattery is counterfeit, and like counterfeit money, it will eventually get you into trouble. Appreciation, on the other hand, is sincere. It comes from the heart out, not the teeth out. It is selfless. It is recognizing the genuine good in another person and giving it a voice. We are so often caught up in our own worlds, our own problems, our own desires, that we forget the people around us are starving for this very thing. The tired clerk who gives you the right change, the colleague who stayed late to help you, the partner who made your coffee this morning. They are all quietly hoping for a single word of recognition. William James, the great psychologist, said, "The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated." He didn't call it a wish or a desire. He called it a craving, an ache, a hunger. And you have the food to satisfy that hunger. Don't wait for people to do extraordinary things to offer your appreciation. Acknowledge the effort, not just the result. Praise the small daily acts of kindness and diligence that so often go unnoticed. Be specific, instead of a generic "good job." Try the way you handled that difficult client with such patience was truly impressive. You will find something miraculous happens. When you give appreciation, you don't just lift the other person up, you lift yourself up. Begin to train your own mind to look for the good, to see the best in people. It changes the very lens through which you see the world. So, look around you today. Who in your life is starving for a word of recognition? Who can you lift up with a simple, honest expression of thanks? Don't hold it back. It is the simplest, most powerful, and most neglected secret for building beautiful, lasting human connections. Chapter 3. He who can do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. We've learned to stop criticizing. We've learned to start appreciating. But there is a third vital piece to this foundation. It's the engine that drives action. Have you ever tried to convince someone to do something? You lay out all the logical reasons. You explain why you want it done. You might plead or demand or even beg, and you're met with resistance. A blank stare. Polite no. Why? Because you have been talking about what you want. You have forgotten the single most important factor in the equation. What do they want? The world is full of people who are self-absorbed, focused only on their own needs. The rare individual who unselfishly tries to serve others has an enormous advantage. The only way on earth to influence other people is to talk about what they want and show them how to get it. Remember that. Write it down. Etch it into your mind. If you want your child to stop smoking, don't lecture them on the dangers. Show them how smoking might prevent them from making the basketball team or achieving another goal that they care about. If you want to persuade someone to your cause, don't talk about how great your cause is. Talk about the benefits that they will receive by joining you. This is the art of arousing in the other person an eager want. Think of it like fishing. When you go fishing, you don't bait the hook with what you like. You don't put strawberries and cream on the hook. You think about what the fish wants. You use a worm or a fly. You appeal to the fish's desires. Why don't we use the same common sense when fishing for people? Henry Ford said it best. If there is any one secret of success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own. This requires a profound shift in perspective. It demands that we stop our own internal monologue and genuinely try to inhabit the mind of another. Before you speak, ask yourself, how can I make this person want to do it? What are their problems? What are their desires? How can what I am offering help them solve their problems? When you can genuinely answer that question, you are no longer pushing against a locked door. You're offering a key, and people will gladly open the door for you. He who can put himself in the place of other people, who can understand the workings of their minds, need never worry about what the future has in store for him. He who can do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. Chapter 4. Do this and you'll be welcome anywhere. We've laid the foundation. Now let's build upon it. Let's talk about something simpler. Let's talk about being liked. Genuinely, warmly, and effortlessly liked. What is the quickest way to make someone feel at ease with you? To make them want to be in your company? I'll tell you a story. For years, a great magician named Howard Thurston mystified audiences. But his real magic wasn't just in his tricks. It was in his connection with the people watching. He would come on stage and say, "I am grateful because you have come to see me. You make it possible for me to do what I love. I love you." He wasn't just performing for them. He was performing because of them. He was genuinely interested in his audience. And that is the secret. It's so simple we often overlook it. To be welcome anywhere, You must become genuinely interested in other people. Think about the most magnetic people you know. Are they the ones who constantly talk about their own achievements, their own vacations, their own opinions? Or are they the ones who ask you about your day, who remember the details of your life, who listen with an intensity that makes you feel like you are the only person in the world? You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. This is a truth that every dog understands. A dog makes his living by giving you nothing but love. When you come home, he is ecstatic to see you. He wags his tail, he jumps, he barks. He gives you his complete, undivided attention, and we love him for it. He is, in his own simple way, showing a genuine, unselfish interest in us. We humans, however, so often get it backward, try to impress people. We try to be interesting. But the far more effective path is to be interested. This cannot be faked. People can spot a manufactured interest from a mile away. It must be real. It requires a conscious decision to turn the spotlight of your attention away from yourself and onto the person in front of you. Ask them questions about their life, their passions, their struggles, and listen. Really listen. Not just to be polite, not just waiting for your turn to speak, but listening to understand. When you show this kind of interest, you are sending a powerful, unspoken message. You matter. Your story is important to me. There's no message more welcome in the human heart. The next time you meet someone, try it. Forget about what you're going to say. Forget about trying to sound smart or witty. Just focus on them. Be a dog. Show them you're genuinely happy to see them, and you will find that you are welcome. Absolutely anywhere. Chapter 5. A simple way to make a good first impression. What is the first thing people notice about you? Your clothes, your words, your handshake? Perhaps, but there is something far more powerful, more instantaneous, and more universal. Something that costs nothing, but creates so much. A smile, a simple, genuine smile. It is a messenger of your goodwill, brightens the lives of all who see it. To someone who has seen a dozen people scowl, frown, or turn away, your smile is like the sun breaking through the clouds. Think of the effect. When someone gives you a warm, unforced smile, what happens inside you? Your own defenses lower. You feel a sense of warmth, of acceptance. A smile says, I like you. You make me happy. I am glad to see you. We underestimate its power. We walk around with neutral, or even do, expressions, lost in our own thoughts, forgetting that our face is a billboard advertising our inner state to everyone we meet. And a smile is the most beautiful advertisement you can create. The beautiful thing is that actions speak louder than words, and a smile says, I like you. But it has to be a real smile, a heartwarming smile, a smile that comes from deep inside, an insincere grin that fools no one. We know when it's just mechanics, but a real smile. It can change the atmosphere of a room. It can disarm hostility. It can open a door that was previously closed. And it has a powerful effect, not just on others, but on you. The act of smiling itself can actually make you feel happier. It's a feedback loop. You feel good, so you smile. You smile, so you feel better. Try this experiment. The next time you walk into a room, or greet a cashier, or meet a colleague in the hall, give them a real smile. A smile that reaches your eyes. Don't say anything different. Just change the expression on your face. Watch what happens. You will see a flicker of surprise, and then, more often than not, you will get a smile in return. You will have created a tiny, momentary island of shared warmth in the middle of an ordinary day. You don't own your smile. It's only real when you give it away. And in a world that is often tired, discouraged, and overwhelmed, your simple smile can be a gift of light. It's the simplest and often most effective way to make a wonderful first impression. Chapter 6. If you don't do this, you are headed for trouble. There is a sound that every person on this planet considers to be the sweetest and most important sound in any language. It is not I love you. It is not you've won. It is their own name. Think about it. Your name is the label of your individuality. It is the one word that is uniquely yours. It sets you apart from all the rest. When someone remembers and uses your name, they are paying you a subtle but powerful compliment. They are acknowledging your existence. They are saying, "You are important enough for me to remember." And when someone forgets your name, or misspells it, or doesn't bother to learn it, sends the opposite message, a message of indifference. It says, "You are not important enough to me." This is a simple thing, a very, very simple thing. And yet, it is the rock upon which so many relationships crash. We are introduced to someone, and 5 minutes later, their name has vanished from our minds. We say, "I'm just bad with names." But is that true? Or is it that we haven't given it the importance it deserves? We can remember the most complex details about our hobbies, our work, our favorite sports teams, but we fail to remember the one thing that is most important to the person standing in front of us. The reason is simple. We haven't taken the time and energy to concentrate, to repeat, to fix that name in our minds. Jim Farley, one of America's most famous political organizers, built a career on this principle. He was said to know 50,000 people by their first names. How? He developed a system. When he met someone, he would find out their full name, the size of their family, the nature of their business, and their political leanings. He would fix it all in his mind as a picture. So the next time he met that person, even a year later, he could shake their hand and ask about their wife and children by name. Do you think people loved him for it? Absolutely. He made them feel seen. He made them feel important. This is a skill you can learn. It is not magic. When you are introduced to someone, listen carefully. Ask them to repeat their name if you didn't catch it. Spell it out. Associate it with their face, their profession. Use it a few times in your initial conversation. "So nice to meet you, Sarah." "So, Sarah, what do you do for a living?" It may feel awkward at first, but the effect is profound. You are communicating respect. You are building a bridge of rapport that others who can't be bothered to remember will never cross. The information we are imparting here is not new, but it is vital. A person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Remember it, use it, and you will have paid them a sincere and effective compliment. Forget it, ignore it, and you are in the long run headed for trouble. Chapter 7. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone who made you feel brilliant, witty, fascinating? After you walked away, you felt a little taller, a little smarter. But if you were to analyze what happened, you might be surprised that person. It's probably said very little. What they did was listen. And in doing so, they became one of the best conversationalists you've ever met. This is one of the great paradoxes of human connection. To be a good conversationalist, you don't need to be a great talker. You need to be a great listener, an attentive, engaged, and encouraging listener. We are all starved for it. We walk through life with our stories, our thoughts, our feelings bottled up inside us, just waiting for someone who will truly hear them. The person who provides that gift of listening is the person we will be drawn to, the person we will trust, the person we will call a friend. Think about the opposite. It's the person who dominates every conversation. The person who is just waiting for you to take a breath so they can jump in with their own story, their own opinion. How does that make you feel? Small, unimportant, bored? To be a good listener is not a passive act. It's not just about being silent while someone else talks. It is an active, engaging process. It means leaning in. It means looking the person in the eye. It means nodding your head. It means asking questions, not to interrogate them, but to encourage them. Tell me more about that. How did that make you feel? What happened next? These are the keys that unlock the other person's world. You are inviting them to share their experiences, and you are showing them that you value what they have to say. Even the most violent critic will often soften and be subdued in the presence of a patient, sympathetic listener. A listener who will be silent while the irate critic storms and opens the floodgates of their grievances. If you want people to find you interesting, if you want them to seek out your company, if you want to build deep and meaningful connections, learn to listen. Put away your phone, close your laptop, give the person in front of you the most precious gift you have, your undivided attention. Encourage them to talk about themselves and their accomplishments. Remember that the people you are talking to are 100 times more interested in themselves and their wants and problems than they are in you and your problems. A person's toothache means more to that person than a famine in China, which kills 1 million people. So if you aspire to be a good conversationalist, be an attentive listener. It's the simplest and most effective way to make others feel valued, understood, and deeply connected to you. Chapter 8. How to interest people. We've learned the power of listening. But what happens when it's our turn to speak? What do we talk about? How do we hold someone's interest? The answer is elegantly simple, and it flows directly from the last principle. To interest people, talk about the things that interest them. The royal road to a person's heart is to talk about the things he or she treasures most. Imagine you are meeting someone for the first time. You could talk about your job, your hobbies, your recent vacation. They might listen politely. Or you could notice the small pin on their lapel from a university you recognize. You could ask about the book they are carrying. You could inquire about the photo of their children on their desk. Which approach do you think will build a faster, stronger connection? When you talk to people about what matters to them, you are entering their world. You are showing them that you see them, that you recognize what they value. And in that moment, you cease to be a stranger. You become a kindred spirit. Before Theodore Roosevelt became president, he had a remarkable habit. Whenever he was expecting a visitor, he would stay up late the night before, reading and researching the subject in which he knew his guest was particularly interested. Roosevelt knew, as all leaders know, that the quickest way to someone's heart is to show them that you care about the things they care about. This requires a little bit of homework. It requires observation. It requires curiosity. Before a meeting, take 2 minutes to look up the person on LinkedIn. What are their interests? What groups do they belong to? Before a conversation, pay attention. What are they wearing? What are they reading? What pictures are on their walls? These are all clues. They're invitations into the other person's world. And when you accept that invitation, when you ask a genuine question about their passion for gardening, or their love of vintage cars, or their recent trip to the mountains, their eyes will light up. Their energy will change. They will see you not as someone trying to get something from them, but as someone who genuinely values them. This isn't about manipulation. It's about empathy. It's about making the effort to step outside of your own interests and meet people where they are. So, the next time you find yourself searching for something to say, stop and look and listen. Find the topic that makes the other person's heart sing and talk about that. It will not only interest them, you'll be unforgettable. Chapter 9. How to make people like you instantly. We have journeyed through 5 principles now: becoming interested in others, smiling, remembering their name, listening, talking in terms of their interests. And now we arrive at the final principle in this part of our journey. It is the one that ties them all together. It is the core philosophy that makes all the others work. It is this: make the other person feel important. Tand. Do it sincerely. This is the great overarching law. The other principles are simply applications of this one. The deepest urge in human nature is the desire to be important. We've touched on this before, but it is so fundamental it bears repeating. Everything we do is in some way an attempt to satisfy this craving. When you remember someone's name, you are making them feel important. When you listen to them intently, you are making them feel important. When you talk about their interests, you are making them feel important. When you give them a sincere, heartfelt smile, you are making them feel important. This is not about grand gestures. It is about the small, everyday courtesies. The little phrases that oiled the machinery of human relationships. I'm so sorry to trouble you. Would you be so kind as to? Won't you please? Thank you. These are the hallmarks of a person who respects the dignity of others. They are small phrases that acknowledge the other person's value. Think about the interactions you have every day. With the person who delivers your mail, the server at a restaurant, your own family members. Do you treat them with a sense of their importance? Or do you treat them as means to an end? The truth is, almost everyone you meet feels superior to you in some way. And a sure way to their heart is to let them know, in some subtle way, that you recognize their importance and recognize it sincerely. Emerson said, "Every man I meet is my superior in some way. In that, I learn of him." This is a mindset of humility and respect. It is the understanding that every single person, regardless of their station in life, is a unique set of experiences, skills, and knowledge from which you can learn. Every person is the hero of their own story. When you can make people feel that you see that heroism, that you see their importance, you will not only make them like you instantly, you will have given them a profound gift. You will have satisfied one of the deepest hungers of their soul. And so, the rule is this: Always make the other person feel important. It is the golden rule of human connection. The one law that, if followed, will bring you friends, loyalty, and a life rich with meaning. Chapter 10. You can't win an argument. Think of the last real argument you had. A knockdown, drag-out battle of wills. You marshaled your facts. You presented your logic. You pointed out the flaws in their reasoning. And maybe, just maybe, you won. You silenced them. You proved them wrong. How did you feel? A fleeting sense of triumph, perhaps. And how did they feel? Defeated, humiliated, resentful. You may have won the argument, but you lost the goodwill. You created an opponent, not a partner. There is a profound and difficult truth we must all learn. You can't win an argument. You can't. Because if you lose it, you lose it. And if you win it, you lose it. Why? Because you will have made the other person feel inferior. You have hurt their pride. They will resent your triumph. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. 9 times out of 10, an argument ends with each of the contestants more firmly convinced than ever that he is absolutely right. So what is the alternative? When disagreement arises, what are we to do? The first step is to welcome the disagreement. Be thankful that this point has been brought to your attention. Perhaps this disagreement is your opportunity to be corrected before you make a serious mistake. Distrust your first instinctual impression. Our first natural reaction in a disagreeable situation is to be defensive. Be careful, keep calm, and watch out for your first reaction. It may be you at your worst, not your best. Control your temper. Remember, you can measure the size of a person by what makes him or her angry. Listen first. Give your opponents a chance to talk. Let them finish. Do not resist, defend, or debate. This will only raise barriers. Try to build bridges of understanding. Look for areas of agreement. When you have heard your opponents out, dwell first on the points and areas on which you agree. Be honest. Look for areas where you can admit error. Apologize for your mistakes. It will help disarm your opponents and reduce defensiveness. Promise to think over your opponent's ideas and study them carefully and mean it. Your opponents may be right. Thank your opponents sincerely for their interest. Anyone who takes the time to disagree with you is interested in the same things you are. Think of them as people who really want to help you, and you may turn your opponents into friends. This is not easy. It goes against every fiber of our ego. But it is the path of wisdom. It's the path of influence. The old saying is true. A soft answer turneth away wrath. The best way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Avoid it as you would avoid rattlesnakes and earthquakes. Chapter 11. A sure way of making enemies and how to avoid it. There is a phrase in the English language that is more explosive than dynamite. A phrase that can detonate pride, ignite resentment, and make an enemy for life. It is a very short phrase. Just 3 little words. You're wrong. When you tell someone they are wrong, you are, in effect, saying, I am smarter than you. I am better than you. It is a direct challenge to their intelligence, their judgment, their pride. And what happens when you do that? Do they agree with you? Do they thank you for your insight? Never. You have struck a direct blow at their self-respect, and they will want to strike back. You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself. That was Galileo's wisdom, and it is a profound lesson in human relations. If you are going to prove anything, don't let anybody know it. Do it so subtly, so adroitly, that no one will feel that you are doing it. Instead of a direct contradiction, try a gentler approach, an approach that opens the mind instead of slamming it shut. You might say something like, well now, look, I thought otherwise, but I may be wrong. I frequently am. And if I am wrong, I want to be put right. Let's examine the facts. Do you see the magic in those words? I may be wrong. I frequently am. Let's examine the facts. Who on earth could object to that? You are opening the door to a cooperative exploration, not a combative debate. You are giving the other person a face-saving way to consider a different point of view. When we are wrong, we may admit it to ourselves. If we are handled gently and tactfully, we may admit it to others and even take pride in our frankness and broad-mindedness. But not if someone else is trying to ram the unpalatable fact down our throat. This principle is about intellectual humility. It's the recognition that our own perspective is just that, a perspective. It is not the absolute truth. So, when you feel the urge to correct someone, to prove them wrong, to win a point. Pause. Remember the explosive power of those three little words. Choose a different path. A path of curiosity, of humility, of gentle inquiry. Respect the opinions of others. Never say you're wrong. You will not only avoid making enemies, you will win people to your way of thinking with astonishing ease. Chapter 12. If you're wrong, admit it. There is a certain kind of power that is deeply misunderstood. It is not the power of being right. It is the power of being wrong and admitting it. Think about it. You make a mistake, and you know you've made a mistake. What is the natural human impulse? To hide it, to deny it, to blame someone else, to justify it. We build a fortress of excuses around our error because our pride is at stake. But what happens when you do the opposite? What happens when you step out from behind the fortress and say, clearly and without excuse, I was wrong? Something miraculous happens. The fight goes out of the other person. If you know you are going to be rebuked anyway, isn't it far better to beat the other person to it and do it yourself? Isn't it much easier to listen to self-criticism than to bear condemnation from alien lips? Say about yourself all the derogatory things you know the other person is thinking or wants to say or intends to say, and say them before that person has a chance to say them. The chances are 100 to 1 that a generous, forgiving attitude will be taken and your mistakes will be minimized. This is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of profound strength, courage, and integrity. It takes a big person to admit their faults. When you admit you are wrong, you are disarming your critic. You are taking away their ammunition. What can they say? You've already said it yourself. Often the person who is ready to pounce will suddenly become your defender, saying things like, well, it wasn't that bad, or we all make mistakes. There is a certain degree of satisfaction in having the courage to admit one's errors. It not only clears the air of guilt and defensiveness, but it often helps solve the problem created by the error. Any fool can try to defend his mistakes, and most fools do. But it raises one above the herd and gives one a feeling of nobility and exultation to admit one's mistakes. So the next time you find yourself in the wrong, don't wait to be found out. Don't build walls of denial. Step forward quickly, emphatically, and enthusiastically. Admit it. Clear the air. You will find that not only do you solve the problem more quickly, but you will earn a level of respect and admiration that no amount of self-justification could ever achieve. If you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. It is the fastest way to turn a potential conflict into a moment of connection and respect. Chapter 13. A Drop of Honey. Aesop, the ancient Greek storyteller, told a fable about the sun and the wind. They quarreled about which was the stronger. The wind said, I'll prove it. See that old man with the coat? Bet I can get his coat off him quicker than you can. So the wind blew with all its might, a cold, biting blast. But the harder it blew, the more tightly the man wrapped his coat around him. Finally, the wind gave up. And then the sun came out from behind a cloud and smiled warmly on the old man. Presently, he mopped his brow and pulled off his coat. The sun then told the wind that gentleness and friendliness were always stronger than fury and force. This simple fable holds a profound truth about human nature. If you want to win someone to your cause, you can't do it with a storm of anger or a blast of force. You must begin in a friendly way. It must be the sun, not the wind. When a person's heart is filled with discord and ill will toward you, you can't win them to your way of thinking with all the logic in Christendom. Scolding parents and domineering bosses and nagging husbands and wives ought to realize that people don't want to change their minds. They can't be forced or driven to agree with you, but they may possibly be led to if we are gentle and friendly, ever so gentle and ever so friendly. A drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall. So it is with men. If you would win a man to your cause, first convince him that you are his sincere friend. Therein is a drop of honey that catches his heart, which, say what you will, is the great high road to his reason. Think about your own experience. When someone approaches you with aggression, with a raised voice, with an accusatory tone, what is your immediate reaction? You shut down. You become defensive. Your mind closes. But when someone approaches you with warmth, with a genuine smile, with a friendly tone, your mind opens. You are willing to listen. You are willing to consider their point of view. This seems so obvious, and yet how often we forget it in the heat of the moment. We let our frustration and our ego take over, and we become the wind, trying to rip the coat off the other person through sheer force. The next time you need to persuade someone, before you say a single word about your proposal, take a moment. Check your emotional temperature. Are you the wind or are you the sun? Begin in a friendly way. Find common ground. Offer a sincere compliment. Show them that you are on their side, that you are a friend, not an adversary. You will find that this drop of honey, this friendly approach, will open doors, soften hearts, and change minds in a way that a gallon of gall never could. Chapter 14. The Secret of Socrates. There is a method of persuasion so powerful, so subtle, that it can change minds without a single moment of argument. It is a method that has been used for over 2,000 years. It is the secret of one of the wisest persuaders who ever walked the earth. Socrates. What was his method? He never told people they were wrong. Instead, he asked questions. He would ask questions with which his opponent would have to agree. He would continue to win one admission after another until he had an armful of yeses. He would keep on asking questions until finally, almost without realizing it, his opponent would find himself embracing a conclusion that he would have bitterly denied a few minutes previously. This is the Socratic method, and its power lies in a simple psychological principle. When a person says no, they have done more than utter a two-letter word. Their entire being, their pride, their nervous system, their muscles gathers itself together into a state of rejection. There is a physical withdrawal. But when a person says yes, the organism is in a forward-moving, accepting, open attitude. Therefore, the more yeses we can induce at the outset, the more likely we are to succeed in capturing the attention for our ultimate proposal. This is the art of the yes-yes response. When you are trying to win someone to your way off thinking, don't start by discussing the things on which you differ. Start by emphasizing and keep on emphasizing the things on which you agree. Keep emphasizing, if possible, that you are both striving for the same end, and that your only difference is one of method and not of purpose. Get the other person saying yes, yes, at the outset. Keep your opponent, if possible, from saying no. This requires skill and patience. It means you must restrain your own desire to state your case. Instead, you must become a guide, leading the other person on a journey of discovery through your questions. Instead of saying our plan is better, you might ask, don't we all agree that our main goal is to increase efficiency? Yes. And would you agree that the current system has some bottlenecks that slow us down? Yes. So, if we could find a way to eliminate those bottlenecks, that would be a positive step, wouldn't it?
Yes.
You are building a path of agreement. And by the time you introduce your idea, it is not a foreign concept to be rejected. It is the logical next step on a path they have already agreed to walk with you. This is not a trick. It is a way of creating a cooperative psychological environment. It's about getting in step with the other person, seeing the world from their point of view, and gently guiding them towards a shared conclusion. So, the next time you need to persuade, remember the secret of Socrates. Ask gentle questions. Get the other person saying yes, yes, and you will find that you can move mountains. Chapter 15. The Safety Valve in Handling Complaints. Most people trying to win others to their way of thinking do too much talking themselves. Let the other people talk themselves out. They know more about their business and their problems than you do, so ask them questions. Let them tell you a few things. If you disagree with them, you may be tempted to interrupt. Don't. It is dangerous. They won't pay attention to you while they still have a lot of ideas of their own crying for expression. So listen patiently and with an open mind. Be sincere about it. Encourage them to express their ideas fully. This is more than just good manners. It is a psychological safety valve. When a person has a complaint, a grievance, a strong opinion, it is like a buildup of pressure inside them. If you try to argue, if you try to shut them down, you are just tightening the valve. The pressure builds, and an explosion becomes inevitable. But if you listen, if you let them talk, you are opening that valve. You are allowing the pressure to be released safely. And a funny thing happens when that pressure is gone. The person becomes calmer, more reasonable, more willing to listen to your point of view. In fact, if you want to make enemies, just do the opposite. Talk more than the other person, and when they are speaking, interrupt them in the middle of a sentence. But if you want to make friends and influence people, let them do a great deal of the talking. This principle applies not just in business, but in our personal lives as well. How many family quarrels have been escalated because no one was willing to just listen? Each person, desperate to be heard, talks over the other, and the pressure just builds and builds. The French philosopher La Rochefoucauld said, "If you want enemies, excel your friends. But if you want friends, let your friends excel you." Why is that? Because when our friends excel us, they feel important. But when we excel them, they, or at least some of them, will feel inferior and envious. So let people talk about their successes. Let them share their stories. Let them unload their complaints. Be a patient, empathetic listener. Don't be the hero of every story. Give them the satisfaction of feeling important by being a great audience. It is one of the most effective safety valves in all of human relations. Chapter 16. How to get cooperation. Have you ever had an idea that someone else gave you and you felt a surge of resistance? But then, have you ever had an idea that you thought of yourself and felt a surge of ownership and excitement? There is a world of difference between the two. No one likes to feel that he or she is being sold something or told to do a thing. We much prefer to feel that we are buying of our own accord or acting on our own ideas. We like to be consulted about our wishes, our wants, our thoughts. This insight holds the key to getting enthusiastic cooperation. Instead of forcing your ideas on others, why not let them cook up the idea themselves? This is a subtle but profound shift. It is the difference between dictating and consulting. Let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers. This doesn't mean you don't have a direction in mind. It means you guide the conversation in such a way that the other person arrives at the conclusion on their own. You can do this by asking questions. What do you think would happen if we tried this? You see any potential problems with this approach that I might be missing? I have a rough concept, but I'm struggling with the details. How would you handle this part? When you do this, you are not just asking for an opinion, you are paying them a compliment. You're saying, "I value your mind, I respect your experience, I need your help." And when people feel that they have been part of the creation of an idea, they will champion it with a passion and energy that you could never command. It is no longer your idea they are executing. It is their idea. This principle can transform a workplace from a top-down dictatorship to a collaborative powerhouse. It can change a family dynamic from one of conflict to one of teamwork. So, the next time you have a brilliant idea, resist the urge to announce it from the mountaintops. Instead, plant the seed. Ask questions. Water it with consultation. And then stand back and watch it grow as if it were their very own. You won't get the credit, perhaps, but you will get something far more valuable. Cooperation. Chapter 17. A formula that will work wonders for you. There is a phrase, a single, magical phrase that can stop arguments, eliminate ill feeling, create goodwill, and make the other person listen attentively. Are you ready for it? Here it is. I don't blame you one iota for feeling as you do. If I were you, I would undoubtedly feel just as you do. Try saying that and mean it. Because if you were the other person, with their mind, their experiences, their temperament, their background, you would feel just as they do. This is the formula of pure empathy. It is the sincere effort to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Remember, the other person may be totally wrong, but they don't think so. So don't condemn them. Any fool can do that. Try to understand them. Okay, only wise, tolerant, exceptional people even try to do that. There is a reason why the other man thinks and acts as he does. Ferret out that reason, and you have the key to his actions, perhaps to his personality. Try honestly to put yourself in his place. This single act of imaginative empathy can work wonders in your relationships. It immediately diffuses tension. It shows the other person that you are not their enemy. You are trying to see the world through their eyes. And once you have shown them that you understand their feelings, they become infinitely more open to understanding yours. So many of our conflicts come from a failure of imagination. We are locked in our own perspective, convinced of our own rightness, and we fail to make the journey of a few inches into the mind and heart of the person opposite us. The next time you are faced with a difficult person, a frustrated customer, an angry colleague, or a stubborn family member, pause. Don't react. Instead, try to understand. Say the magic phrase, "I don't blame you for feeling that way. If I were you, I would feel the same." And then, listen. You will have built a bridge across the chasm of misunderstanding, and that bridge can carry the weight of any problem. Chapter 18. What everybody wants. We've talked about a lot of human desires. The desire to be important, the desire to be understood. But there are two other desires, two higher motives, that we can appeal to. J.P. Morgan observed that a person usually has two reasons for doing a thing, one that sounds good and a real one. The real reason is often selfish, the one we keep to ourselves. The one that sounds good is the one we like to talk about. It appeals to our better nature. And the secret to influencing people is to appeal to that nobler motive. Assume that the other person is honest, upright, and fair. Most people are at their core. They want to do the right thing. They want to be seen as honorable and just. When you appeal to these nobler motives, you are holding up a mirror that reflects the best version of themselves, and they will want to live up to that image. For example, if a customer refuses to pay a bill, you could get angry and threaten them. Or you could appeal to their sense of fairness. You might say, "I know you are a person who keeps their word, and I believe there must be a good reason you haven't settled this. I have faith in your honesty. Could you help me understand the situation?" You are giving them a reputation to live up to. You are assuming they are a person of integrity, and you are inviting them to act in accordance with that assumption. This is not naive. It is psychologically astute. Even the person who is inclined to cheat will often reconsider when you make it clear that you consider them to be an honorable individual. So, in your dealings with people, look past the immediate selfish motives. Search for the nobler reasons. It's the desire for fairness, for honesty, for kindness, for generosity. Appeal to those motives. Show people that you believe in the best version of them. You will be astonished at how often they rise to the occasion, because that, deep down, is what everybody wants, to be seen as good. Chapter 19. An appeal that everybody likes. How do you get someone's attention in a world full of noise? How do you make your ideas stand out? The answer is simple. You dramatize them. This is the day of dramatization. Merely stating a truth isn't enough. The truth has to be made vivid, interesting, dramatic. You have to use showmanship. The movies do it. TV does it. You'll have to do it if you want attention. Think about a marriage proposal. Does a person just say, "Hey, we should probably get married"? No, they get down on one knee. They present a ring. They create a moment. They dramatize their appeal. Think about how advertisers sell us products. They don't just list the ingredients of a new perfume. They show us a story of romance, of adventure, of elegance. This isn't about being untruthful. It's about presenting the truth in a more compelling way. It's about painting a picture that captures the imagination. If you want to illustrate a point about safety, don't just show a chart of accident statistics. Show a picture of what can be lost. Tell a story. If you want to demonstrate the effectiveness of a product, don't just talk about it. Show it in action. Let people see the results for themselves. We are emotional, visual creatures. We're moved by stories, by spectacle, by drama. Facts and figures can convince us, but it is drama that motivates us. So, the next time you have an important point to make, a vital idea to share, an urgent request to put forward, don't just say it, show it, dramatize it, use your imagination. Turn your idea into a performance. You will find that the world, which is so often bored and distracted, will suddenly sit up and pay attention. Chapter 20. The movies do it, TV does it. Why don't you do it? The power of dramatization is all around us. It is the language of modern persuasion. We see it in every film, every advertisement, every news report that grips our attention. It is the art of turning a simple fact into a compelling story. It is the practice of showing, not just telling. And yet, in our own lives and our most important interactions, we so often forget this tool. We present our ideas as dry reports, our requests as boring lists. We fail to capture the imagination. We fail to stir the emotions. But what if even this, the power of drama, is not enough? What if you've tried everything: friendliness, empathy, Socratic questions, noble appeals, and you are still met with a wall of inaction? What is left? There is one last resort, one final powerful motivator. Chapter 21. When nothing else works, try this. Let's be clear, the desire to excel is a fundamental human drive, the thrill of competition, the chance to prove one's worth. The game. Schwab, a master of leadership, knew this well. He once had a mill manager whose men were not meeting their production quotas. Schwab had talked to the man, coaxed him, but nothing worked. So one day, Schwab walked into the mill at the end of the day shift. He asked a worker how many heats his shift had made. The man said 6. Without another word, Schwab picked up a piece of chalk and wrote a big number 6 on the factory floor. When the night shift came in, they saw the 6 and asked what it meant. The day shift told them the big boss had been in and written it there. The next morning, Schwab walked through the mill again. The big 6 had been erased, and in its place was a bigger 7. The day shift saw the 7 and were fired up. They weren't going to let the night shift show them up. They worked with a vengeance, and when they left that night, they left behind a massive, swaggering tent. Production skyrocketed. What did Schwab do? He simply threw down a challenge. He stimulated competition. It's not in a greedy, money-grubbing way, but in a desire to excel. The desire to excel, the challenge. An infallible way of appealing to people of spirit. This is the ultimate motivator when all else fails. When you want to spur people to action, turn the task into a game. Set a standard. Throw down a gauntlet. Create a friendly competition. You will awaken a spirit of endeavor that no amount of coaxing or pleading could ever produce. You will tap into one of the most powerful forces in the human soul, the desire to win. So, when nothing else works, try this. Stimulate competition. Turn work into a game and watch as people rise to the challenge. Chapter 22. If you must find fault, this is the way to begin. We now enter the most delicate and difficult territory of all. How to change people, how to correct mistakes, how to be a leader. And this requires the utmost skill and finesse. Because when we find fault, we are treading on the sacred ground of another person's pride. So if you must find fault, if you must correct an error, what is the very first thing you must do? Begin with praise and honest appreciation. Think of a dentist. Before a dentist starts to drill, what do? They give you a shot of Novocaine. They numb the area to dull the pain. Praise is like the Novocaine of criticism. It numbs the sting of the rebuke that is to follow. It opens the mind to listen, rather than immediately closing it in defense. When Abraham Lincoln had to write a letter of criticism, he would often start with praise. Before pointing out a general's strategic blunder, he would commend the general for his courage or some other quality. This is not a trick. It is not insincere flattery followed by a but. The word but can negate all the goodwill you've just built. The trick is to replace but with, and, for example, instead of saying, "Johnny, we're really proud of you for raising your grades this term, but you failed algebra, try this." "Johnny, we're really proud of you for raising your grades this term, and by continuing that same concentrated effort next term, your algebra grade can be up with all the others." Do you feel the difference? The first is a criticism. The second is an encouragement. Beginning with praise is like the sun warming the frozen earth before the spring rains. It makes it possible for the seeds of change to grow. It's always easier to listen to unpleasant things after we have heard some praise of our good points. So, before you offer a single word of correction, find something to genuinely praise. Acknowledge the effort. Recognize the good. Begin with warmth. It is the first and most crucial step in the art of leadership. Chapter 23. How to criticize and not be hated for it. So, we have begun with praise. We have numbed the area. Now comes the delicate part, the criticism itself. How do we deliver it in a way that inspires change rather than resentment? The secret is to avoid a direct attack. Direct criticism is like a cold wind. It makes people wrap their pride more tightly around themselves. Instead, we must learn to call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. This is the art of the subtle hint, the gentle nudge. For example, Charles Schwab was once walking through one of his steel mills at noon and found some of his employees smoking. Directly over their heads was a no smoking sign. Did Schwab point at the sign and say, "Can't you read?" No. He walked over to the men, handed each one a cigar, and said, "I'll appreciate it, boys, if you will smoke these on the outside." The men knew they had broken a rule. But he didn't scold them. He made them feel important. He gave them a gift and did it in a way that made them admire him. How could you not love a man like that? Another powerful technique is to use a story or an analogy. Instead of criticizing a person directly, You can tell a story about a similar situation, allowing them to draw their own conclusion. The goal is to help them see the mistake without feeling personally attacked. It's about preserving their dignity, their self-respect. This requires creativity and empathy. It's far easier to just blurt out a criticism. But the effective leader, the wise influencer, knows that the indirect path is often the fastest route to real, lasting change. So, after your praise, don't follow it with a direct assault. Use subtlety. Use a hint. Use a story. Call attention to mistakes indirectly, and you will find you can correct behavior without arousing a shred of resentment. Chapter 24. Talk about your own mistakes first. You've begun with praise. You've called attention to the mistake indirectly. What can you do to make the criticism even more palatable? This is perhaps the most powerful and disarming technique of all. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. When you admit your own faults, you create an atmosphere of equality. You are no longer the perfect boss correcting the flawed employee. You are one imperfect human being talking to another. You are saying, I understand. I've been there. I've made similar mistakes myself. Imagine a manager needs to correct a young employee for being overconfident. They could say, you need to be more careful. Or they could say, you've made a mistake, but it's no worse than many I have made. I was not born with judgment. That comes only with experience, and you are better than I was at your age. I have been guilty of doing so many stupid things myself. I have very little inclination to criticize you or anyone. Which approach do you think would be more effective? Admitting one's own mistakes, and when one hasn't corrected them, can help convince somebody to change his behavior. It takes the sting out of the criticism. It makes the other person feel that they are not alone in their imperfection. It shows humility, and it builds a bridge of shared experience. It is a profound act of leadership to say, I am not perfect. I have stumbled too, so before you point out the splinter in someone else's eye, talk about the log in your own. It will make your feedback not only easier to hear, but infinitely more likely to be acted upon. Chapter 25. No one likes to take orders. Think about the feeling of being given a direct order. Do this, don't do that. Get this done by 5. Even if the order is reasonable, there's a part of us that bristles. It's a small rebellion of our pride, our desire for autonomy. No one likes to take orders. So what is the alternative? How does a leader get things done without issuing commands? By asking questions instead of giving direct orders. A simple phrase like, do you think that would work? Or, what do you think of this? Can transform a command into a collaboration. When you ask a question, you are doing several powerful things at once. First, you are making the person feel a part of the decision. It stimulates their creativity. It makes them more likely to accept the order with enthusiasm because they feel they had a hand in creating it. Second, you are showing respect for their opinion. You are saying, I value your judgment. Third, you are giving them a chance to correct an error before it's made. They might see a flaw in the plan that you missed. Asking a question opens the door for that valuable feedback. This technique saves a person's pride and gives him or her a feeling of importance. It encourages cooperation instead of rebellion. Instead of saying, don't do it that way, you might ask, is there a way we could do this that might be more effective? Instead of finish this report by noon, you could try, we need this report urgently. What's a realistic timeline for you to get it done? This is not a sign of a weak leader. It is the mark of a wise one. A leader who understands that people work best when they feel respected, when they feel they have agency, when they are partners in the enterprise, not just cogs in a machine. So, put away the command voice. Start asking questions. You will get better results, and you will build a team that is not just compliant, but committed. Chapter 26. Let the other person save face. There is a currency in human relationships that is more valuable than money, more powerful than titles. It is the currency of dignity, of face. And we so often trample on it without a second thought. We fire employees in front of their colleagues. We correct a child in front of their friends. We point out a flaw in our partner's reasoning at a dinner party. We ride roughshod over the feelings of others, getting our own way, finding fault, issuing threats, criticizing a child or an employee in front of others without even considering the hurt to the other person's pride. And yet, a few minutes' thought, a considerate word or two, a genuine understanding of the other person's attitude would go so far to alleviate the sting. Letting the other person save face? How important, how vitally important that is. How few of us ever stop to think of it. To save face is to preserve one's dignity, one's self-respect, one's reputation in the eyes of others. It is a fundamental human need. And when we take it away from someone, we create a wound that may never heal. We create an enemy for life. Even when we are right and the other person is definitely wrong, we only destroy ego by causing someone to lose face. The legendary French aviation pioneer and author Antoine de Saint wrote, "I have no right to say or do anything that diminishes a man in his own eyes. What matters is not what I think of him, but what he thinks of himself. Hurting a man in his dignity is a crime. This is the heart of the matter. It is a crime against the human spirit." So, before you act, before you speak, ask yourself this question. Will what I am about to do or say help this person to save face? If you must let someone go, do it privately, with respect and kindness. Find something to praise in their past work. Help them see a path forward. If you must correct someone, do it with tact and discretion. This is not just about being nice. It is about recognizing the profound importance of human dignity. It is about being a decent, compassionate human being. A real leader, a true friend, a loving partner will always go out of their way to let the other person save face. It is a small act of grace that pays infinite dividends in loyalty, respect, and love. Chapter 27. How to spur people on to success. How do you help someone become the best version of themselves? How do you unlock the potential that lies dormant within them? You could use criticism, but we know that withers the spirit. You could use force, but that breeds rebellion. There is a more powerful way, a way that nourishes growth, that builds confidence, that makes people want to excel. That is to praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. Think of how you train an animal. You don't whip a dog for every mistake. You reward the smallest step in the right direction. A treat for sitting, a pat on the head for staying. You build on success. Why do we not use the same common sense with people? We are so quick to criticize, to point out the 10 things someone did wrong. But we are so slow to praise the one thing they did right. Praise is like sunlight to the warm human spirit. We cannot flower and grow without it. And yet, while most of us are only too ready to apply to others the cold wind of criticism, we're somehow reluctant to give our fellow the warm sunshine of praise. When you praise even the slightest improvement, you are giving someone hope. You are telling them, I see you. See your effort. You are on the right track. Keep going. This is not empty flattery. It must be specific and sincere. The way you organized that report was so much clearer than before. I noticed you handled that difficult phone call with real professionalism today. These small words of recognition are the fuel for human endeavor. They build a person's confidence in their own abilities. They make them want to try harder, to reach higher. Abilities wither under criticism. They blossom under encouragement. If you want to be a leader, a mentor, a parent, a friend who truly helps others succeed, become a student of praise. Look for the good. Look for the growth. Look for the effort. And when you see it, no matter how small, give it the gift of your recognition. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. You will not just be changing their behavior, you will be changing their life. Chapter 28. Give a dog a good name, Shakespeare wrote. Assume a virtue, if you have it not. There is a profound psychological truth in that line. When you treat a person as if they already possess a certain virtue, they will often strive to embody it. This is the principle of giving someone a fine reputation to live up to. If you want to improve a person in a certain respect, act as though that particular trait were already one of his or her outstanding characteristics. For example, if you have a mechanic who is sometimes careless, you could scold him for his mistakes. Or you could say to him, Bill, you are such a careful and precise mechanic. Your work is usually so excellent that I knew you would want to double-check this job. You have given him a good name. You have given him a reputation for being careful and precise. Because people want to be consistent with the way they are seen, he will be far more likely to live up to that reputation. This is not manipulation. It is a form of belief. You are believing in the best version of the other person. You are seeing their potential and treating it as their reality. Think about the people in your life. What virtues do you want to see more of in them? You want your child to be more responsible? Talk about how responsible they are becoming. Do you want a colleague to be more of a team player? Publicly praise them for their collaborative spirit. Give them a fine reputation to live up to, and they will make prodigious efforts rather than see you disillusioned. This is an act of faith. It is the faith that within every person is the seed of a better self. And by giving that better self a name, by giving it a reputation, you are helping it to grow. It is one of the most subtle and powerful ways to inspire change and bring out the very best in the people around you. Chapter 29. Make the faults seem easy to correct. Tell a child, a spouse, or an employee that he or she is stupid or dumb at a certain thing, has no gift for it, and is doing it all wrong. And you have destroyed almost every incentive to try to improve. But use the opposite technique. Be liberal with your encouragement. Make the things seem easy to do. Let the other person know that you have faith in his ability to do it, that he has an undeveloped flair for it and he will practice until the dawn comes in the window in order to excel. This is the art of making the fault seem easy to correct. When someone makes a mistake, their confidence plummets. The task ahead can seem like an unclimbable mountain. They feel overwhelmed, discouraged, and ready to give up. Your job as a leader is to be their guide, is to show them that the mountain is just a hill and that they already have the strength to climb it. Instead of saying, "This is a huge mess, you need to fix it," you could say, "There are a few small things here we can adjust. I know you can handle this." It's a simple fix for someone with your skills. You are minimizing the error and maximizing their ability. You can tell them that you have faith in them, can point out their past successes, can break down the task into small, manageable steps. Your message should be, "This is not a big deal. You are more than capable of handling this. I believe in you." When people believe that a fault is easy to correct, they are filled with hope and courage. They are motivated to try. The fear of failure recedes, and the desire to succeed takes its place. So, when you see a mistake, don't magnify it. Minimize it. Don't focus on the problem. Focus on the person's ability to solve it. Use encouragement. Make the fault seem easy to correct, and you will inspire people to achieve things they never thought possible.